about anything regarding what I've just talked about, and pop your questions into the feed and we will do our best to answer them for you. If you do have any images or photos that you'd like some assistance with, if you can hold off until we finish streaming and then pop them into the feed. So as I said, I'll be on camera for half an hour, and then after that behind the scenes, if you like, behind the laptop for a further half an hour or so until I finish answering all of your questions. So certainly use this as an opportunity to ask any questions that you do have, and certainly start popping them into the feed now if you like. So as I mentioned, tonight is all about exteriors. And look, we do get asked a lot of questions, and it's not only what comes in through our feed through this, but also it's through our social media channels as well. And so we like to keep our sessions real so that it can certainly help you at home if you're embarking on some type of project. And so tonight I'm going to talk about a few things. And the first one that I'm going to bring to life is, look, we've had a lot of questions about LRV and what it means and why do I refer to LRV, etc., etc. So I'm going to discuss that, as it is wonderful information. Look, it's not only fantastic to make sure you get the colour right, but it's also good to know the technical side to your colour, if you like, so that you understand when you are selecting colours, how they're going to perform in an external application. Okay, secondly, we're going to talk about when you're building your colour scheme, how you can go about that, and to give you a few tricks, if you like, and a few tips that can help you. And then we are going to talk about sheen levels, because I think it's really, really important. And as the weather is starting to warm up a little bit, and it shouldn't be that long before we're finished in our beautiful winter, and then, you know, that season sort of starts, that those projects happening, and exterior projects tend to come to life. So I think, you know, while we've still got a couple of weeks left, of winter, if you like, it's a really good opportunity to start to prepare yourself and get yourself ready for that project. So I'm going to share a few images so that I can quickly talk about LRV, but I like to have something on the screen so that you can get a visual and understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to share my iPad. Yes, fantastic, it's working. And pop myself up in the corner. Awesome. Okay, so this in front of you, you can see something that's called, it's LRV, it's a light reflectance value. And you can see there that you've got 0 being black, and then you've also got 100 being white. And why is it important? Well, it's really important when you start to use whites on an external application, because you really want to have an understanding of how they're going to perform when they're in full sun, etc. And so this is what this is all about. So you can see here again, here's LRV. This time I have highlighted where it says from 50 to 100. Now, there's something really important, and one of the things that tends to get a lot of attention when we talk about painting exterior is your front door. And it revolves around, you know, selecting a beautiful colour, creating that aesthetic that you're wanting to create, etc. And so if you are putting a new front door on, and this can be, you know, you might be renovating a new build, whatever it may be, or it may even be that you've got an old, you know, timber front door that you're stripping back and you're going to repaint. It's really important to understand colour values, and this is where this comes into play. So a lot of front door manufacturers will have warranties around, you know, what you can put on the front door being colour-wise. And so where I've highlighted from 50 to 100 is what a lot of manufacturers like to see in a colour. So the colour value, the LRV, sitting from 50 to 100, because that's in a really good colour range. Going lower, as you can see on the screen there, you're tending to go quite dark. So the darker that you go, the more heat the colour attracts, which can then potentially cause your timber door to twist and warp, etc. And then you void, you know, you can potentially void your warranty. So this is why this part's very important. And I will show you how you can find the LRV of a colour. Now the next thing here, you can see I've highlighted, just there's a little slight sort of very, very soft sort of lemon colour, sitting around about 65 to 85. So one of the most frequently asked questions, and we cover this generally every week, and it doesn't matter whether we're talking about interiors or whether we're talking about exteriors. People want to know, you know, finding that perfect, the quest for the perfect white for external application. And so when I not only look at what else is going to exist within that environment, so, you know, I'm not just going to select a white without thinking about what other colours are going to sit with that, just so that we're creating that beautiful colour palette. But one of the things that I do rely on is looking at the LRV, so the light reflectance value. And the reason being, it ensures that when I recommend a white, it's going to be able to withstand exterior application. And I'm talking about primarily when it's in full sun, because we want to avoid going out there, let's say it's 7 o'clock in the morning and you're sitting out there having your morning cup of tea and you cannot sit outside without having sunglasses on because it's so glary. So that's why this is really, really important. So when you start your quest for that external colour being, I'm talking about primarily whites, and understanding that LRV. So to give you a little bit more of an understanding here, I've picked a couple of very popular colours. So you can see there is Surf Mist, which tends to be a very, 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 very popular choice for external application. And then I've put it up against Brilliant White. And the reason being is you can see the LRVs there. So when you put the Surf Mist against Brilliant White, you may look at that and go, you know what, that's got too much colour for me. But it's when you put it outside that colour, once it's in sun, etc., it looks a lot lighter. It has a tendency, if you like, to bleach out. That's the terminology that I like to use against it. So it's really, really important, again, to understand your colours. Utilise the information that is available out there to understand how a colour is going to perform. So I'm going to come back. So the next thing you're probably thinking, okay, so you've shown me that, where can I find some information? So, you know, you might pop down to your local hardware store, and generally 9 times out of 10, behind the counter is one of our fan decks. Now, every colour that sits within our fan deck, for example, has on the back of it. So you may look at, I'm just going to pull anything up here. So the top colour there is crisp white. If I turn it around, the information on the back, there's a lot of information, but the particular thing we're talking about now is the LRV, the light reflectance value. And that tells me that that is 89.56. So it's very easy to find this information out. You can also visit, and I'll quickly share my laptop screen. Okay, maybe I won't. Let's try again and hope that this works. Okay. Maybe it doesn't want to work tonight. All right, we'll come back to that in a moment. So with my wanting to share where you can get some information from, when you visit our website, which is www.taubmans.com.au, you can easily find information. So I'm back. I've managed to get this working now. So I'll take you to my laptop. Fantastic. Here we go. All right. So as I said, www.taubmans.com.au, and you'll be brought to a landing page that looks like this. This is really great site to visit when you're about to embark on your paint project, and primarily we're talking this evening about exterior. So you can hit colours, and you can start to look at all of our colours are grouped by family, which makes it very easy. But the one place I want to take you is to something down the bottom, which is where you can order colour swatches. But this space here, or this site here, contains a lot of information. So you can scroll down here to where you can search a colour name or number. So I'm just going to put in, I'll go Surf Mist again because I referenced that before. And we'll enter that. And we'll go again. Oh, here it is, it's here. That's why it's not. And here, if you select where it says view color details, here we go. All of your color values are there, and this is the thing that we're looking for, the LRV. So really, really important. So, and a really easy tool to use. So if you, as I said, embarking on a color journey and you can visit a hardware store, so go into Bunnings, you can talk to the team, they'll be able to point you and show you a fan deck and give you that information. Or you can go to our website, select colors as I just showed you, scroll down to the bottom to where it says our swatch shop, click on that, use the search function and select any color. And once you select it, you'll be able to find the LRV. Very, very easy. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about, and I think it's really, really important. So when you are starting your color journey, you need to start to think about what it is you're wanting to color. So obviously there are lots of different areas within the exterior of your home. So you've got things like your eaves, you know, where you're going to paint your roof, your guttering, your fascia, the body, so the external, whether it's weatherboards, whether it's render. You've also got to take into consideration, obviously, the front door, your garage door. So all of these things, all the different touch points, if you like, it's working out what color goes where and how you can create that wonderful cohesive color palette. So what I would suggest you do, and I'm going to come back to my iPad again and pop myself in the corner, is develop a color plan. Really, really easy thing to do. So just something like what I've popped up on the screen here. So, you know, I have, you know, a column, if you like, or an area, a space where you can write area, pop everything down that you can see that's visual, that's going to be either painted or going to stay the color that it is. And then, you know, a column for change so that you can work out what stays, what changes. Noting the existing color and then also noting the new color. So start to work out, you know, what sort of color you're visualizing. Now, it's not only that, when you do this, the next thing I would recommend you do is to have a drive around your neighborhood and take notice of the things that you really like. So whether it be a, you know, a dark roof or a light roof, that's a really good place to start, because then you can start to build upon a color scheme from that. Also, two really important things to consider are where you are located. So are you in a bush setting? Are you coastal? And also too, don't forget the other colors that sit around you. It's very, very important. You know, you might live in a street where you've got predominantly, I'll just throw it out there, you know, like some sort of beige tones. And I guess, you know, you might decide to paint your house hot pink. It's certainly going to stand out, but is it going to stand out for the right reason? So these are all sorts of things to start to consider. And then the next thing you need to do, start to think about grouping, because I think that when you're painting the exterior of your home, you need to think about how many colors you want to use. And generally, if you start to drive around and have a look, I guess a very cohesive color palette generally consists of 3, maybe 4 colors, and it's the color placement that can make you, you know, stand there and look at a home and go, wow, I really love that, because we all know color is an extremely powerful tool that we can use. And this is how I like to work. I'm not necessarily saying that you have to do that, but this works for me. And when I'm looking at creating a color scheme for clients, I generally work this way, and this is how I work. So if I can, I like to have the roof, my window frames and the garage door the same color. They're generally, you know, relatively big ticket items, and it's by having them the same color, it gives you kind of a neutral, and then you can start to play with color in other areas. And then for the body of the exterior, adding another color, so that's 2 colors. Then you may choose to add another color. For example, if you've got, depends, something I should have touched on earlier as well, it depends on the style of your home. So if you are painting or coloring up a very modern home, You know, your color placement can be less if you like. If you're doing, let's just say, an old traditional style home where you've got barge boards, etc., this is where you might introduce that third color, have it on the barge boards, have it on your fascia, continuing around, and then, you know, perhaps that fourth color is going to be a pop of color on your front door. Generally doing something like that works really, really well. If you're wanting to introduce further colors, I would look at not necessarily introducing another color, but looking at introducing perhaps another tone. So intensifying one of the colors, if you like. So you've still got, it's still going to look really, really cohesive and aesthetically pleasing, if you like. So there's a couple of tips there. So that just shows you on screen there again where I've started to group the colors just to give you a visual to help you if you're at home and you're wondering how to do it. This is a great way to start, because I think planning prior to application is really important. And it's not that hard. It's just a matter of working out what changes, what stays. And the other thing too, if you are working with colors that have to stay, so for example, you've got I'll throw it out there, you've got a terracotta tiled roof and you're not going to change the color, but you need to work with that. Find tones that will work with that. And obviously terracotta, using something that's got more of a green undertone, so you could still go relatively neutral, but looking at a grey that has more of a green undertone is going to work beautifully. So just working with what you've got and staying true to the style of the home, I think are really important. Okay, so that sort of ties in with how you can create that aesthetically pleasing color scheme by using color in its right application, ensuring that the colors that you're choosing suit the environment. So if you're coastal, go for those beautiful soft sort of sandy whites, coastal sort of blues, and you know, the Hampton sort of feel that everybody's going for. You can go for greige, which is a beautiful grey that has more of a brown undertone. That tends to sit really well with beautiful blues. Obviously the coastal whites work really well as well. And if you're in more of a bush sort of setting, looking at, there's a wonderful Colorbond colour called Woodland Grey that tends to be, it's a grey but has quite a green undertone, and so then looking at colours that have more green, again, to sit with those will look fantastic, and the place or your home will sit really well within its environment. Okay, and the next thing that comes into play is product. And with product becomes not only ensuring that the product that you use is fit for purpose, but it's also ensuring that the sheen level that you use is going to suit what you're painting or what you're colouring up. So I want to show you, and I'm going to take you to our Taubman's website again. So I will just pop myself back into the corner. Okay, so we're back at our Taubman's website. So not only can you search for colours here, but you can search for products, and you can sort of do a lot of research, if you like, and learn a lot. So where it says products here, so the drop down menu, everything is grouped. So it's really, really easy to identify and understand. So for example, we're talking about exterior application. So I'm going to talk about exterior paints. So let's click on that. A couple of products come up. We've got Taubman Sunproof, fantastic product, and it is safe for the collection of potable drinking water. So what that means is if you're painting a roof and you have and you're collecting rainwater for drinking purposes, you can use Sunproof. Then we have our all-weather. Our all-weather, as you would have heard me talk many a times about NanoGuard technology. So all-weather contains NanoGuard technology. So I'll just click on it, which again is that interlocking molecular structure, which means when we use it, when we talk about NanoGuard for exterior, if you like, it becomes kind of dirt shedding technology. So what that means is it can be a quick rain or wash down of your paintwork, and all of that dirt's going to wash off, because it's not only UV that we need to worry about when we are talking about painting the exterior. It is also thinking about the pollutants in the air, etc., that can potentially help, or I shouldn't say help, but can potentially accelerate your exterior paint to sort of break down. So All Weather is a fantastic product, and when we talk about different sheen levels, you've got a matte. So a matte I would recommend using for something like render. And then you also have a low sheen. Look, low sheen, excuse me, looks fantastic. So your exterior broad wall application, things like, your sky and linear weatherboards, etc. look fantastic in a low sheen, or even a semi-gloss. It depends on the preference that you prefer, the sheen level. And then also you've got a gloss, and you might like to use either the semi-gloss or gloss sort of around your window frames, etc. So there where you'd start to change and use different sheen levels or varying sheen levels, remembering that when you start to intensify your sheen levels, so if we were to go from, say, a matte or a low sheen to a gloss, your colour can slightly intensify. And I've talked about this before. And so if you are wanting to understand what the colour could look like potentially in a gloss finish, get yourself a colour chip, a piece of clear sticky tape, pop it over a little bit of or a quarter or a half of the colour chip that you're getting off the colour wall, sort of rub it on, and then you can move it around and you'll see how that colour intensifies. And I like to use this when I talk about using gloss for a front door. I think it is amazing to gloss up the colour on your front door, intensify it that little bit more, and really give it that pop. Okay, so I'm going to come back and I'm going to see whether I have any questions. I did have a question that was posted into our feed earlier on, so I'm going to address that one now. And that came from Stacey. So thank you very much, Stacey, for popping your question into our feed. So your question is, I'm wanting to paint my interior doors in a black shade. What's the most popular colour in your range for this? We are more of a natural tone. So I'm presuming that you have more of a natural tone on the interior. Or are you wanting a black with a varying undertone? Because black is not just black. You can get blacks that have undertones of perhaps a little bit more green, a little bit more red going into purple, blue, etc. And even more of a brown undertone. Look, one of our most popular blacks that we do have is a colour called Trendy. It's a fantastic black, followed by another black called Taubman's All Black. So they would be a couple of colours that I would certainly recommend. If you're wanting a black that has, let's just say that's not just a clean black, that has a little bit of some sort of undertone, and perhaps something that's slightly warmer. Let me just have a look here. You could have a look at a colour called Casino. And there is also, let me just see what else I have here that's going to serve the purpose for a fantastic black. And I would hold it up to the screen, but you're really not going to be able to see the difference. I could try, but as I keep saying, we're lit up like a Christmas tree here. Oh, maybe you can. So the top one is a colour called Casino, and you can see Trendy's at the back there. And I don't know whether you can see it. I can see it. Trendy is a little bit deeper, if you like. So it's more of a cleaner black, whereas this one is slightly, dare I say, has a little bit more of a brown undertone, so it's slightly warmer. But there's a couple of fantastic blacks there that you could certainly use. Okay. Now the other thing, I've talked about colour. I've talked about giving you a little bit of a colour plan, so you've got somewhere to start when you're embarking on your exterior journey, if you like. The other thing that is really, really important, and for those that are joining us, that regularly join us, are about to know what I'm going to talk about, because I talk about it every single week. The most important thing you can do when you are embarking on, doesn't matter whether you're doing an interior or an exterior project, is to test your colour. And the best way to do this is to get yourself a sample pot of the colour that you're thinking about using. And when in store, getting your sample pot, ask the guys behind the counter at Bunnings, for example, for perhaps a large piece of cardboard. When our paint comes into store, we generally have, it comes on pallets, and in between the layers of paint are large pieces, or commonly referred to as pallet liners, which are large pieces of cardboard. And what we recommend, or what I recommend you do, ask for a piece of that, and you want to have your sample to be at least 1 metre by 1 metre square. And that way you can really see how the colour's going to work. And then what I suggest you do is to paint 3 coats. So the first coat's going to aid as a little bit of an undercoat, and then the 2 coats are going to be your top coats, if you like, because generally most of our paints are a 2-coat system. And then what I suggest you do for exterior is to test the colour in full sun. So once your sample piece of cardboard is dry, moving it around in areas where you're getting a lot of sun and having a look, and I guess starting to gauge how the colour is going to work externally for you. Also moving the piece of cardboard into areas where you get a lack, or I suppose where you get less sun, where it lacks a lot of light, just to test it there and to see how it's going to work in those darker spaces within the external of your home. And that's going to help you to understand how it's going to look. And the other thing you can do as well is to, have it near your front door, and then of an evening you can turn your light on and just see how it looks under artificial lighting as well. And look, the same applies for interior. When you're testing a colour for interior application, is to paint out your 3 coats onto your piece of cardboard, but this time you're going to test your colour in natural light, because that's when you see colour in its true form, but also under artificial lighting, because that's when you start to see how the colour is going to be affected by things like your lights. And also, so for interior, you've got your wall, you've got your floor, testing it here to see how it works against other things that exist within your home, and one of them being flooring, because flooring can help to, I guess, influence your colour choice. And the other place to test it as well is, so you've got your wall, you've got your ceiling, putting your piece of cardboard up against so that it's touching on the ceiling but still flat on the wall. And up there you're going to be able to see how light affects the colour and how it changes, or how it is affected as the day sort of rolls through, from, first thing in the morning to later in the afternoon, etc. And I would also test that, or take that sample around the interior of your home, paying particular attention to areas that lack light, so you can understand how the colour will work in areas that aren't as well lit. I think it's really, really important. It's going to help you understand how the colour works within your space, and then you avoid disappointment. The other thing to think of as well, we have a wonderful product called water-based enamel. That's what I would recommend, not only for a front door, but also too for when you're doing your interior. And we do talk a lot about whites, because whites seem to be a very popular choice. And if you're doing an all white interior colour scheme, or not even just all white, but if you're using white, say for your doors and trims, a water-based enamel will stay bright and white and true to colour. So there's a few tips there for you all this evening. Certainly go back to your colour plan. I think that can really, really help you when you're embarking on your project. And you know what? It can also work the same for interior as well. You can use a colour plan, work out where you're going to paint, what you're going to paint, what areas are going to change, what colours you're starting to think of. And the other thing you can do as well is create yourself a mood board. We've had many sessions here where I've talked about mood boards, whether you choose to do a digital mood board or to create an actual tactile one where you can go and collect things like your colour chips and samples, etc., and putting them in one place, and sort of then start to understand what you like, selecting images from places like Pinterest, magazines, web, even taking photos around areas and having a look at homes, etc., that you love, putting them all into one place, and then you can start to understand what you like, what you don't like. It's just a great way of being able to bring a vision to life for yourself. Okay, so I hope that's helped everybody this evening. Thank you very much for those that have joined us this evening. I think it's been a very quiet evening all up, but that's okay. These sessions sit on our Facebook site, so you're always welcome to re-watch them and certainly pick up some tips. So thanks again for joining us this evening. It'll be the same time, same place next week, and until then, everybody stay safe, and as I always say, happy painting. Bye.